What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one, I want to talk about what's going on with NIO stock and how the news could end up affecting it. I'm going to try to give you guys a very unbiased analysis of the market and talk about what's very likely for NIO. But before I break anything down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. This offer ends in just 3 days from now, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. Looking at NIO right here, we technically have a bullish divergence developing on the chart, suggesting that there's going to be a bounce coming soon. However, the current technicals still look bearish on NIO, and there could be a little bit more of a drop before it hits 7 and then bounces, or it could try to bounce from here. But the question is, how will NIO move going forward? How do I think it's going to be impacted by this news? NIO has slightly backtracked on its plans to enter North America by 2025, and it's going to try to seek any kinds of partnerships that it could make. That's going to be very important for its future, and it's continuing to grow as a result of that. But we're going to be watching to see how other tensions continue to affect it. However, NIO is still very optimistic and still has, it's one of its very important developmental areas in Silicon Valley, not to mention important growth that is continuing. So NIO has connections here in the USA, but it's continuing to see some turmoil because of some other geopolitical issues and factors like that. Now, when it comes to the way that this car company is going to grow, I read online that it's still debating whether it's going to be entering North America in 2025. Either way, whether it enters or not, excuse me, I think that NIO still has a lot of potential, and it's going to be most likely seeing massive growth in China at the very least, because China is still a massive market. It's still the biggest EV market for the time being. So we're going to be waiting as time goes on, and for now, things are still looking all right. Now, this negative news came out on Friday after the market closes. Moody has basically announced that they've cut their outlook to negative. They've kept the credit rating the same, but they're going to change their outlook, which could be very negative. Now, with that news coming out, this could have a negative effect on the market. That's why you want to be very unbiased when it comes to the way that we're looking at things. But I'm going to tell you what's very likely for NIO. NIO could drop a bit more, but I think that there's a good chance of it bouncing soon. Despite that, I just want to talk about SPY and just a few others very quickly. So the market's going to likely gap down because of this news that came out. We're going to be watching to see if the buyers step in again. If so, let's see if we can try to get back up to 441 on SPY. Now we have this historical resistance, this white trend line right here. If we break it, 444 is coming. If we end up losing 438, expect this thing to come down to 436. For Nvda, let's just go over Nvda real quick. For Nvda, this thing is going to likely gap down and test 480. If we bounce off of it, look for a push up to 485. If we break it, then 488 to 490 could come before we top, or it could just reject from here. We're going to be watching to see how 480 holds. I just want to be very careful because Nvidia is approaching some tight resistance, and even if we do pump on Monday, don't forget that for Tuesday we have CPI coming out. The data is very minor for Monday, but CPI is going to be for Tuesday. We will see how that ends up affecting these other tickers. So it's going to be one of those two. Make sure you watch those levels. For Aapl stock, if we're bearish, well, we're going to likely gap down first and retest, in my opinion, possibly the 185s. But if we're bullish, you want to see it try to break out again and try to get up towards this like 188 area. That's where we have some tight resistance historically. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose, 185. If 185 breaks, okay, if you lose 185, expect it to come down towards 180. Then we're going to see some downside. So we're going to be watching that very carefully going into tomorrow. For the QQQ, we're going to be watching to see if we can break the high at 378. If we do so, we can start bouncing. Now, if there is going to be a gap down and a back test, watch this trend line reject as previous resistance, becoming support. If we get a nice bounce off of it, if we bounce earlier, it could be pushing for 378. If we break the 378s, 380s where we have some tight resistance. If we lose the trend line, the white trend line right here, if we lose this line, expect us to come at least down to 375, or even below this towards 372. So we're going to be watching that very carefully. On Tesla stock, if Tesla manages to break 216, I think it could get very close to 220. If it rejects and we end up losing 212, I anticipate it's going to come down to 208. So we're going to be watching this very carefully to see if Tesla gets a break or not. And then regardless of what happens, guys, CPI comes out on Tuesday, so that's going to have a very different effect. So as far as NIO goes, we've been downtrending. It is still looking kind of weak. So I think that NIO could drop a little bit more, but I believe that around 7 to 7.16, we should see a bounce. I think that NIO should try to push up just a little higher. So it might drop a little bit more. $7 should be coming for NIO, but historically, there are a lot of buyers that step in around the $7 area. So we might see NIO try to make its way back up towards 7.6. Now, even if it loses $7, it could kind of like pop a little below it. I expect some buyers to try to defend it there. And I think it's a very good buying opportunity to start dollar cost averaging. So you could start to just buy in a little bit around that $7 area. That's not financial advice, by the way, as well. But that could be a very, very good buy area for the long term because NIO has a lot of unfilled gaps. And I still believe in the potential of this stock. So I'm also very bullish for December for NIO. I think that the end of November could turn out very bullish too. So will December, but the market might be a little flat. The market's due to pull back a bit over the next week or two. But I think that the end of November will be bullish. I think NIO is going to start bouncing. And I think that we'll have to see how earnings go, but I think that earnings could be optimistic for them as long as they give a good outlook, as long as their guidance is not the worst. I still believe in the potential of this company. We have a lot of unfilled gaps in the 10s and the 15s. It is going to bounce eventually and fill those gaps. Okay, I'm very confident it will in the future. It's very, very oversold, and I just see this as a very good buying opportunity. So the buying opportunities are coming again, guys. This is going to be very, very nice. Uh, if somehow bad news comes out and it just loses 7, I'll keep buying. Anything below 7 is a steal because that is like 1/10 of where it used to be, right? We saw NIO in the 70s before. It is going to make its way back up, but you just need to be patient. You just have to give it time. All right, so we'll see what happens with earnings over the next few weeks. Earnings is not this week from what I'm reading, and maybe a little bit later. And the best thing to do is just try to be very, very patient. So look for a little drop towards 7, see some buyers try to step in, try to push it back to 7.6, and then anticipate some sideways price action. We're going to be watching to see how the Moody news affects NIO. We're going to be watching what happens to the US's credit ratings and any new developments in China. If NIO does make a big move, do not fully expect that to last into Tuesday because Tuesday has CPI in the morning and this could change direction in a flash. So I'll be talking more about this tomorrow. But for now, that's what I have for this video. So I just wanted to thank every single one of you so much for listening. All right, so we'll see what happens with the future technicals. We'll just remain calm, cool, and collected through everything. And with that said, please have an absolutely spectacular weekend for now. All right, so have a great day, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one tomorrow. Look for a little drop on NIO and some buyers to defend $7. And then just some sideways price action for the time being. But things could change after CPI. Things could change after NIO's earnings. NIO is going to bounce in the future. You just need to give it some time. All right. Thanks again and peace out.